At the stroke of midnight, the moon hung heavy and full, casting silver-blue shadows across the tangled grass of the ancient garden. 11-year-old Mai wandered barefoot through the dew, clutching a faded locket, her late mother's keepsake. The garden, usually silent, felt alive with breathless anticipation, the air sharp with the scent of rain and old earth. As Mai stepped beneath the gnarled willow, a sudden chill wrapped around her. A wind whispered secrets in the darkness. "Why do I always feel so alone?" Mai murmured, her voice trembling. Her memories of laughter had faded into echoes, leaving only longing and emptiness. The night pressed closer. A flash, lightning arced, illuminating a circle of stones she had never seen before. Her heart pounded. "Mama, are you there?" she whispered, tears blurring her vision. The world seemed to pause. In the stillness something shimmered, barely visible, tiny wings, a hint of glow. And in that suspended breath, Mai's fear became something new. Hope edged with terror, as if she was teetering at the edge of an unknown world that had always waited for her to notice. Mai stumbled backward, heart thundering, as the eerie glow faded for a moment, leaving the garden drenched in silence. Her breath came in short gasps, the night air thick with moisture and dread. She felt the ground cold and rough beneath her feet, the locket's chain cutting into her palm. Was it real? Mai whispered, glancing frantically around. Shadows clung to the edges of the stone circle, each one deep and menacing, as if something watched from the void. The ancient willow creaked in protest, its branches trembling in the unsettled breeze. Far off, a single owl called, the sound sharp and lonely. Fear mingled with curiosity as Mai stared at her open palm, where a faint dusting of iridescence lingered. "Mama, what is happening to me?" she said, voice shaking with longing and grief. Every instinct screamed to run, but a strange compulsion rooted her to the spot. The locket pulsed softly against her skin, warm for the first time since her mother died. The silence pressed against Mai like a weight, thick and suffocating. She tried to call out, but her voice caught in her throat. Her gaze fixed on the stones, now dull and gray, but somehow thrumming with hidden power. Maybe it was just a dream, she thought, trying to steady her breath, but the warmth of the locket argued otherwise. A sudden chill swept through her, raising goosebumps on her arms. The garden felt altered, more vibrant, every color deepened, every sound amplified. From the corner of her eye she glimpsed fleeting movement, a blur of blue light skittering just beyond the willow's reach. Mai's curiosity fought her terror, and she edged closer, desperate to understand what she had witnessed. "If I leave now, will I ever find out the truth?" she wondered, voice barely a whisper. In that fragile moment, Mai resolved to stay, even as the night whispered warnings that some secrets should remain hidden. A branch snapped overhead, making Mai flinch. Her heart skipped as she watched a small, pale light drift down from the willow, hovering just above the mossy ground. The light pulsed softly, almost inviting. She hesitated, breath quick and shallow, every muscle taut with anticipation. "What are you?" she whispered, barely audible. The glowing orb seemed to tilt, casting tiny prisms on the grass, revealing fleeting shapes, a miniature figure with delicate wings, barely more than a suggestion. Awe replaced fear in her eyes. The air grew warmer, scented with rain and sweet earth, as if the world itself held its breath. "Are you lost too?" Mai asked, voice trembling between wonder and sorrow. In response, the fairy's glow brightened, a shimmer of hope in the midnight gloom. For the first time in years, Mai felt less alone. Someone, was reaching back through the dark. The fairy hovered, drifting closer until its radiance nearly touched Mai's trembling fingers. In its light, memories flickered, her mother's laughter, the warmth of summer days, the ache of longing. Tears welled in Mai's eyes, blurring the world into shifting colors. "Can you help me?" she asked, voice barely more than a hope. The fairy spun in a slow, graceful arc, leaving a trail of sparkling dust that circled the stone ring. The locket at Mai's throat began to glow in answer, its gentle pulse synchronized with the fairy's light. The moments seemed endless, Mai suspended between grief and possibility, the garden transformed into a realm of silent promise. In the hush, she sensed something greater unfolding, as if the world itself was listening for her next choice. For the first time she dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was not truly alone. Dawn was still far away as Mai sat cross-legged in the center of the stone ring, the fairy's glow fading to a faint spark at her side. She clutched her mother's locket, feeling its warmth echo in her palm. Loneliness welled inside her, heavy and raw. "Why did you leave me, Mama?" she whispered, her voice barely cutting through the hush. The garden was still, every blade of grass damp with midnight dew, the promise of secrets lingering in the air. A dull ache filled her chest, a yearning for a family lost, for laughter and belonging, for the comfort of arms that would never return. The fairy hovered silently, as if understanding Mai's sorrow, its tiny hand reaching out to brush her cheek. "All I want is to feel whole again," Mai confessed, her words spilling out like tears. For a heartbeat, the fairy's light flared, casting rainbows on the wet grass. The ache within Mai grew sharper, mingled with hope and a desperate longing for something to fill the emptiness. The silence broke as Mai felt a surge of heat in her locket, a gentle pulse that spread through her veins. The longing in her heart became a voice inside her mind, soft, coaxing, tempting. If only I could bring her back just for a moment, Mai thought, her grip tightening on the locket. The fairy's wings flickered with concern, its eyes wide and sorrowful. "Careful, Mai," the fairy said in a whisper as delicate as the breeze. "Desire can become a chain." But Mai barely heard, swept up by the ache of wanting. "I would do anything," Mai muttered, not sure if she spoke aloud. The world blurred at the edges, colors growing brighter and harsher. The garden seemed to tilt, the stones pulsing with hidden energy. The fairy hovered anxiously, its light flickering. In that moment, Mai was blinded by her own desperate hope. A hope that risked pulling her further from the truth. A memory surfaced, her mother's laughter echoing in the warmth of an old summer afternoon. Mai clung to the image, desperate for comfort. And for a moment she imagined her mother standing among the stones, arms open, face radiant with love. The illusion was so vivid that Mai nearly cried out. The fairy floated between Mai and the vision, its wings trembling, casting rippling shadows on the moss. "It's only a memory," the fairy cautioned, its voice sorrowful yet gentle. But the ache in Mai's chest pressed her forward. "Please, let me stay here with her," Mai pleaded, tears streaming down her face. The vision shimmered and faded, leaving only empty moonlit grass and the fairy's sympathetic gaze. Despair and longing battled within Mai, her soul torn between what was lost and what was still possible. The pain sharpened her desire, but also revealed its emptiness. The vision dissolved, and Mai collapsed onto the grass, drained by the weight of longing. The fairy settled gently beside her, resting its tiny hand on Mai's arm. "You carry so much sorrow, Mai," the fairy said, its voice like a soft bell. "But no wish can change what is." Mai's tears fell silently, soaking into the earth. The world felt colder, the stones stark against her skin. "How do I let go?" Mai asked, her voice trembling, pain laced with hope. The fairy's wings glimmered in the gloom. "By understanding that what you seek is already within you," it replied. The words echoed, settling deep inside her. For a moment, Mai saw herself not as broken, but as someone beginning to heal. The garden breathed around her, the night softer, filled with the quiet promise of change. Her longing, though still heavy, seemed to open a door to something new. Mai drew in a shuddering breath and sat up slowly, the fairy's gentle presence giving her strength. "Maybe I can't change the past," she whispered, wiping her cheeks. "But I can listen." The locket glowed softly, its warmth steady and reassuring. Mai closed her eyes and listened, to the rustle of leaves, the distant call of the owl, the heartbeat of the garden itself. Gradually, the ache of longing eased, replaced by a quiet, tentative peace. Fairy watched with approval, its light growing brighter. "You're not alone, Mai," it said, its voice a thread of comfort in the night. As dawn began to hint on the horizon, Mai realized that hope was not in chasing what was lost, but in embracing the world as it was, painful, beautiful, and still unfolding. The first step toward wholeness was acceptance, and in that moment, Mai took it. As the first blush of dawn touched the sky, Mai rose from the edge of the stone circle, feeling a new resolve pulsing in her veins. The garden, once eerie and foreboding, now beckoned with possibilities hidden in the shadows and folds of dew-soaked leaves. The fairy hovered nearby, its glow faint in the growing light, watching as Mai stepped carefully past ancient roots and thickening mist. "Why do I feel both afraid and brave at once?" Mai wondered aloud, her voice thin but steady. The air was cool and alive, each breath tinged with the promise of discovery and the memory of loss. The garden's paths twisted and split, leading deeper into tangled green where sunlight and shadow danced. "This place changes with me," Mai realized, reaching out to brush her fingers against the rough bark of an old birch. The fairy's wings fluttered in agreement. "Every step you take reveals something new," the fairy said softly. In that moment, Mai's journey shifted from escape to exploration. The path narrowed, hemmed in by tall grasses and thorns that caught at Mai's nightdress. She hesitated as unfamiliar sounds rustled in the underbrush, the snap of a twig, the low croak of a hidden frog, the flutter of unseen wing. "Am I being watched?" she thought, anxiety creeping up her spine. The fairy sensed her tension and landed softly on her shoulder. "The garden tests those who enter," it whispered. "You must face what lies ahead, not hide from it." Mai swallowed her fear and pressed forward, heart racing. Vines parted beneath her touch, revealing a glimmer of water, a small stream winding through stones, its surface swirling with fallen petals. For a moment, Mai glimpsed her own reflection, pale and uncertain. "Can I really do this?" she asked, voice trembling. The fairy nodded, its eyes filled with quiet encouragement. The journey into the unknown had truly begun, and there was no turning back. Drawn to the sound of water, Mai knelt beside the stream, letting her fingers trail through the cold, clear current. The fairy hovered above the water, watching intently. As Mai gazed into the surface, her reflection began to ripple and shift. Instead of her own face, she saw flashes of old memories. Her mother's gentle smile, her father's strong arms, the laughter of forgotten friends. Joy and sorrow swelled together inside her, so sharp it hurt. "Is this who I am or just who I was?" Mai asked, voice fragile. The fairy fluttered closer. "The past shapes you, but it does not define you," it replied. "Let the memories flow, but don't let them bind your heart." Mai nodded, understanding flickering in her eyes. She watched as the stream carried petals downstream, her burdens beginning to lighten with every passing moment. The garden, alive with sound and color, seemed to welcome her transformation. As Mai rose from the stream, a sudden rustling in the dense thicket startled her. She spun around, heart hammering, eyes darting through the tangled green. From the shadows emerged two glowing points, eyes watchful and ancient. The fairy darted in front of Mai, wings spread wide. "Not all who dwell in this garden are kind," it warned. Mai stepped back, gripping her locket for courage. The eyes resolved into a small woodland fox, its fur slick and glistening with dew, nose twitching as it studied her. For a tense moment, predator and child regarded each other in silence. Then, the fox dipped its head and vanished into the brush, leaving only a trail of paw prints in the mud. Mai exhaled slowly, realizing her fears were often greater than reality. The fairy smiled, pride shimmering in its tiny face. "Every fear faced is a chain broken," it said softly, and Mai felt a little braver. The encounter with the fox left Mai trembling but emboldened. She pressed onward, guided by the fairy's gentle light, moving through the shifting shadows and rays of new sunlight. The garden's heart opened before her, an ancient clearing, overgrown yet sacred, ringed with stones carved in symbols she almost recognized. In the center, a sapling glowed with an inner fire, leaves shimmering gold and emerald. Mai approached slowly, feeling reverence and awe swell within her. "This is the center," the fairy whispered. "A place where fears dissolve and beginnings are made." Mai knelt before the sapling, feeling the earth's heartbeat beneath her palms. Hope fluttered in her chest, fragile but true. The fairy hovered at her side, its light merging with the dawn. For the first time, Mai felt ready to face whatever mysteries the garden held, knowing that courage was not the absence of fear, but the will to move forward despite it. As Mai knelt before the radiant sapling, a hush swept through the garden, silencing every leaf and distant bird. Shadows pooled at the edge of the clearing, swirling and rising until they formed a shimmering mirror, tall and dark as midnight. The fairy's glow dimmed, its wings trembling with apprehension. "What is this?" Mai whispered, her voice brittle with unease. The mirror pulsed with silent energy, reflecting not her face, but the memories she tried hardest to forget, her mother's final days, words left unsaid, the guilt that clung to her heart. A cold wind pressed against Mai's skin, bringing with it the ache of regret. The fairy drifted beside her, offering silent support. "You must see yourself as you truly are," it whispered, "to heal the wounds that linger." Mai's hands shook as she reached toward the glass, her reflection warping with sorrow and longing. The clearing was still, as if the entire world waited for her to confront her hidden pain. The mirror's surface rippled, drawing Mai into its depths. She stood, trembling, in a world shaped by memory. A faded hospital room, her mother pale and frail in a sunlit bed. The air was heavy with unsaid words and the soft beep of distant monitors. Mai's younger self clung to the bedrail, desperate for comfort, but unable to speak the love she felt. Tears streamed down her cheeks, past and present blurring. "I should have been braver," Mai whispered, guilt thick in her throat. The fairy, now small as a firefly, hovered above the memory, its glow faint but steady. "We all wish for a second chance," it murmured. Mai reached out, her fingers brushing the ghostly outline of her mother's hand. The memory shimmered, shifting under the weight of sorrow, yet something gentle flickered in her mother's eyes, a silent forgiveness, a final gift. Mai's breath caught as her mother's voice echoed softly in the air, the words clear and kind. "You are not alone, Mai. I love you, even from beyond." The fairy's light pulsed gently, comforting her. The mirror's surface shifted, replaying moments of Mai anger, her silence in the face of loss, the ways she had hidden from pain. Each memory pressed close, sharp and unyielding, yet the warmth of her mother's love softened their edges. "I forgive you, Mai," the memory whispered, a smile lighting her mother's face as the scene faded. The fairy hovered by Mai's shoulder, a gentle reminder that healing was possible. Tears fell freely as Mai realized she had carried the weight of guilt far too long. "I want to be free," she said, voice breaking but resolute. In the mirror, her reflection began to clear, sorrow receding like the last shadows of night before dawn. The mirror's hold loosened as Mai stepped back, heart pounding, the garden's light returning in soft waves. The sapling's glow brightened, casting golden warmth over the clearing. The fairy hovered protectively, its wings sparkling anew. "You faced your sorrow, Mai," it said with quiet pride, "and your heart is lighter for it." Mai stood taller, her hands unclenched, the locket at her neck radiant and steady. The memories no longer haunted her, they had become part of her, woven into her courage and compassion. She looked up at the morning sky, pale and infinite above the leaves. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered, her words carried away on a gentle breeze. The fairy circled around her, showering tiny sparks of light that shimmered like blessings. Mai felt peace settle in her chest, deep and lasting, as if the whole garden breathed out with her. Mai knelt once more beside the sapling, her heart calm, the heaviness of regret replaced by gratitude. She pressed her palm gently to the earth, feeling the steady pulse of life beneath her fingers. The fairy landed on her shoulder, silent and supportive, its light strong and true. "The past is a story, but you are alive now," the fairy murmured. Mai closed her eyes, breathing in the scents of earth, leaf, and dawn. She whispered a promise: to remember, to forgive, to keep moving forward. The garden seemed to respond, leaves rustling softly in approval, golden petals drifting from the sapling onto her lap. In this sacred space, Mai found the strength to release her pain and step into a new chapter. The fairy smiled, and as the clearing filled with sunlight, Mai rose with hope and quiet confidence, ready to face whatever paths awaited in the heart of the midnight garden. The garden grew brighter as Mai stood, the locket pulsing with a gentle, steady glow against her chest. Every leaf and stone seemed to shimmer, yet a new tension filled the air, a challenge not yet faced. The fairy drifted ahead, guiding Mai toward a thick stand of trees where light faltered and shadows deepened. "This is the heart of the midnight garden," the fairy said, voice solemn. "Here, every wish and fear becomes real." As Mai stepped forward, the ground trembled, and a ring of thorny brambles rose around her, encircling her in a living cage. The locket's light flickered as dark whispers pressed in, voices tempting her to cling to sorrow, anger, and regret. "Let go," the fairy urged softly. Mai's breath came quick and shallow, memories swirling like storm clouds in her mind. She clenched her fists, every muscle tight. The path to freedom, she sensed, meant surrendering everything she thought she needed. Fear closed in as the voices from the thorns grew louder, echoes of Mai's doubts, failures, and deepest regrets. "You are not enough," they hissed, every word twisting in her chest. Mai closed her eyes, hands trembling, tears threatening to fall. The fairy's voice broke through the darkness, steady and clear. "The world will always offer fear, but you choose what to keep in your heart." Mai forced herself to breathe, listening to the rapid drum of her heartbeat, the distant song of a waking bird, the soft pulse of the earth. "I am afraid, but I am not my fear," she whispered, summoning every ounce of courage. The brambles shuddered, loosening slightly. The fairy glided closer, light swelling in response to Mai's bravery. In that moment, Mai realized that surrendering her fear did not mean being empty. It meant making space for something new, something true. A fierce wind whipped through the garden, rattling the brambles and tearing at Mai's nightdress. The voices became a cacophony, memories and anxieties swirling in a storm of confusion. The fairy pressed her tiny palm to the cage, voice clear and unwavering. "Release what binds you, Mai. The garden reflects your heart." With a cry, Mai unclenched her fists and let go of fear, anger, and longing. She surrendered to the pain, allowing herself to feel its depth without resisting. The locket blazed, filling the ring with blinding light. The brambles recoiled, shrinking and dissolving into mist. For a heartbeat, Mai stood in the radiant silence, free and trembling. The fairy floated beside her, tears in its eyes, wings glimmering with relief. "You did it," the fairy whispered. Mai smiled through her own tears, feeling lighter than she ever had before. As the light faded, Mai stood at the center of a garden transformed. Where brambles once trapped her, wildflowers now bloomed, gold, violet, and white, petals trembling with new life. The fairy hovered before her, its glow soft and warm wings shimmering in the gentle dawn breeze. "Every chain you break sets the garden free as well," the fairy said, voice brimming with pride. Mai's heart swelled as she watched colors unfurl around her, life blossoming where pain once ruled. The locket's warmth was a steady comfort, no longer a burden but a beacon. "I'm not afraid anymore," Mai said, wonder filling her voice. The garden answered with birdsong and a hush of wind through the branches. In this moment, Mai understood that surrender was not the end. It was a beginning, a promise of all that could still be. The fairy smiled, hope sparkling in its eyes. The heart of the garden breathed with new energy as Mai walked forward, each step lighting the earth beneath her feet. The fairy circled above, trailing shimmering dust that sparkled in the sun. Mai felt the burden of grief, fear, and longing dissolve, replaced by peace and a sense of wholeness she had never known. She gazed upward, face bright with hope. "Thank you," she whispered to the fairy, to her mother, to the world that had tested and healed her. The locket glowed one last time, a pulse of gentle light flowing into the garden, blessing every corner with warmth. The fairy hovered at Mai's side, smiling in quiet triumph. With the garden in full bloom, Mai knew her journey was not over, only changed. With surrender came freedom, and with freedom, the courage to keep walking into the mysteries ahead. Mai wandered slowly through the heart of the midnight garden, every sense open to the world's quiet beauty. The wild flowers nodded in the gentle dawn breeze, petals shining with dew. For the first time, Mai walked without searching or longing. She simply breathed, feeling herself a part of the living tapestry around her. The fairy kept close, its glow soft and reassuring, radiating calm. Is this what it means to be whole? Mai wondered aloud, touching the locket gently. The garden seemed to answer, sunlight catching on every leaf, the air rich with promise. "You have learned to let go," the fairy replied, voice serene. "Now, receive what is given." A sense of deep peace washed over Mai, steady as the earth beneath her feet. She smiled, not because her pain was gone, but because she could carry it without fear. Each step was both an ending and a beginning, her heart open to the dawn. Mai paused beside a still pool, its surface glassy and unbroken, reflecting the golden sky and the silhouette of the fairy at her shoulder. She knelt and gazed into the water, expecting her old anxieties to surface, but only calm looked back. The reflection showed a girl changed, not free of sorrow, but touched by wisdom and resilience. "Who am I now?" Mai whispered, fingers tracing ripples on the water. The fairy landed beside her, its tiny face glowing with approval. "You are the sum of every step, every letting go," it answered softly. Mai watched her reflection shimmer with the light of new understanding. She smiled, recognizing both the girl she had been and the one she was becoming. The garden hummed with quiet approval, and Mai sensed that her story, though marked by loss, was now woven with acceptance and self-compassion. From the far side of the pool, a gentle breeze stirred, carrying the scent of jasmine and wild mint. Mai closed her eyes, breathing deeply, letting the fragrance fill her. The fairy fluttered upward, wings catching the morning light. "Life is always moving, always changing," it said, circling above. "What will you choose to carry forward?" Mai listened, feeling the answer grow quietly within her. Forgiveness for herself, gratitude for her journey, and love for all she had lost and gained. She rose, shoulders relaxed, steps confident and light. The garden opened before her, paths winding through sunlight and shadow, each turn offering a new beginning. Mai's locket glowed warmly, echoing her newfound sense of belonging. She no longer feared the unknown. The fairy smiled, leading her forward, as together they entered the next chapter of the day. The day grew brighter as Mai followed the fairy deeper into the garden, every color more vivid, every sound richer. She passed beneath arches of blooming wisteria, the air sweet with blossoms. Birds called from hidden branches, their songs weaving through sunlight. "What will you do now?" the fairy asked, landing in Mai's open palm. Mai considered the question, turning it over like a precious stone. "I will keep walking, keep learning, keep loving," she replied, her voice quiet but sure. "I will not run from sorrow, but neither will I let it close my heart." The fairy nodded, its light a gentle affirmation. The path before them curved out of sight, mysterious and inviting. Mai smiled, her steps steady, her heart wide open. The garden, once a place of shadows and fear, had become a world of infinite possibility. At the edge of the garden Mai paused, gazing back at the wild sanctuary that had become her place of healing. Sunlight spilled over every leaf and petal, the air filled with the music of a world awake. The fairy floated beside her, both of them radiant in the golden light. "Thank you," Mai whispered, not just to the fairy, but to the journey itself. She pressed the locket to her heart, feeling its warmth, its promise. The garden would always be a part of her, woven into her spirit. With one last deep breath, Mai stepped beyond the edge of the midnight garden, not with fear or longing, but with acceptance and peace. The fairies circled her once, trailing a ribbon of light. The world was wide, uncertain, and full of hope. And Mai, at last, was ready to meet it. The wind no longer speaks in riddles. It carries only silence now. Gentle, full-bodied, like the breath of a world that has finally exhaled. The protagonist, once burdened with grief and illusion, walks barefoot through the dew-laced garden. Their steps leave no mark. The earth has accepted them. The trees no longer whisper doubts but hum softly with presence. Fairies, once hidden in shadows and mischief, float freely in the open light, unafraid. A great lotus blooms in the garden's center, a symbol not of victory, but of being. The protagonist kneels, eyes closed, not to pray, but to simply be. A soft golden glow rises from their heart and mingles with the morning mist. The garden mirrors their stillness. Time has paused in reverence. I sought the truth in noise and pain. I found it in stillness. The protagonist whispers. No answer is needed. In the gentle rustling of petals, echoes of the past arrive, not as tormentors, but as old friends finally laid to rest. Faces that once haunted now appear as fleeting reflections in a pond's surface, the mother's soft lullaby, the friend's final gaze, the child's self reaching upward for the stars. The protagonist smiles, not with triumph, but recognition. The pain was never the enemy, it was the teacher. Grief, love, fear, all were guides along the winding garden path. None needed to be erased, only understood. They whisper into the still air, "Thank you, all of you. I'm here now." The wind stirs the cherry blossoms. Some drift down, dissolving before they touch the earth. The protagonist watches without clinging. No need to hold. No need to let go. Just be. At the garden's far edge, a gate stands, wrought of vines and starlight, pulsing faintly with ancient energy. It was always there, unseen, unopened. The protagonist approaches slowly, not with urgency but quiet reverence. This is not an escape, but an arrival. Fairies gather silently behind them, not to guide, but to honor the passage. The protagonist turns back and meets their gaze. No words. Only a shared understanding. The journey is complete, yet never truly ends. With a breath, they step forward. The gate dissolves into light, not opening, but becoming them. In that moment, boundaries fade, between garden and soul, self and cosmos, seeker and sought. What remains is awareness, spacious and boundless. No center, no edge. The garden breathes. A single, slow inhale and exhale. It has always been alive, but now it sings in silence. Petals open with no need to impress. Rivers flow with no destination. Light bends around every branch in gentle reverence. The protagonist is no longer seen, but felt like warmth from sunlit stone. There is no figure, no form, only presence. The garden holds a perfect stillness, not of absence, but of fullness. It is no longer a place, but a state. Birdsong returns, not to break the silence, but to harmonize with it. A fairy touches a leaf and laughs softly, not out of joy but from recognition. They whisper to the others. The garden remembers. And they all nod, as if a long-forgotten truth has returned home. A single breeze travels outward from the garden, over mountains, across cities, through dreamscapes and silent hearts. It carries no sound, yet everyone who feels it pauses, just for a moment. A sorrow softens. A tear dries. A forgotten kindness resurfaces. The garden's serenity has become a seed in the world. Back within the garden, the fairies begin to tend the paths again, lighting lanterns, planting dreams in the soil. The wheel turns, but now with knowing. The protagonist's essence lingers only as a whisper. Wake gently. Everything you seek is already blooming. The scene fades not to black, but to light. soft, steady, timeless.